Okay, I'd like to call to order the Board of Directors meeting of the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District for Thursday, August 18th, 2022 to order. The meeting is being streamed live on Central Coast YouTube channel, and if anyone has public comments or questions, they can comment on the live stream, and the questions will be relayed to the board members and answered at the end of the meeting. We have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a roll call, please?
Rita Ackerman,
Here?
Jack Aiken,
Here.
John McCullough,
Here.
Ray Woodruff,
Present.
Kevin Battles, I understand, is still late.
Yeah, he's running a few minutes late.
Quorum is present.
Okay. So the next item we have on the agenda is appointing civil service commissioners. We have Louise Soliday, sorry about that, Steve Barham, and Dakota Hartzell. And these people have volunteered to be on our civil service committee because we have the staffing level that requires us to have a committee. And so do we need to swear them in, or what's
So
the...
you can swear them in at their meeting next week. I don't know if you have to do individual motions for each one of them, or if you could just do one motion for all three.
Okay.
So,
These are the individuals that have, submitted their names for consideration. And so if we want, I suppose we can just go ahead and make a motion to appoint all three of them to the commission.
So moved.
Okay, can I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Louise Soliday, Steve Barham, and Dakota Hartzell to the Civil Service Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And it looks like the Civil Service meeting is going to be August 25th. What time?
5:30.
At 5:30.
And so, Louise, just raise your hand.
Yes.
There's Louise, and then Steve is right next to her, and then Dakota's not here. I don't know if he was able to make it or not for
Okay.
sure, but if he pops in, I'll point
Well,
him
thank
out
you
here.
for volunteering. We appreciate it. Okay, we have the approval of minutes. We have the regular session minutes from from July 12th, and the workshop minutes from August 11th, which was this last week. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections?
My name's spelled wrong.
Your name is spelled wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's not supposed to be an S on the end.
Did I keep putting an S on there?
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's a scrivener's error, though, so that it doesn't affect the content of the minutes. We will get corrected minutes for me to sign.
Only correction is my last name has an A in it, M-A-C. Well, yes.
Well, the recorder can be forgiven. You are new members, so. And I'm sure it won't happen again.
Other than that,
Okay. So if there are no additions or corrections to the minutes, can I get a motion to approve the minutes? And you can approve both sets of minutes with one motion.
I move that we accept both minutes.
Okay?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now it's time for citizen participation. If anyone wishes to address the board on any item that may be on the agenda or any other item that they have on their mind, now is the time. If we have members of the viewing audience that wish to submit comments, we will have a wrap-up at the end here to allow for questions from the viewing audience at that time. Is that we're right in citizen comments and concerns, if you have anything you wish to, okay?
He's part of Central Coast, he's one of the chaplains.
Ah, okay, very good. All right, well, moving on, we have staff presentations, so,
Okay, so for the month of July, we ran 9 fires, 52 EMS calls, 7 vehicle crashes, 1 surf rescue, 3 lift assists, and 1 other assist, for a total of 73 emergencies in July. And so far in August, we've done 7 fires, 31 EMS calls, 3 vehicle crashes, 3 surf rescues, 4 lift assists, and 1 other assist, for a total of 49 so far this month, and an annual total so far of 689 emergencies. So a little past the halfway mark, or actually we're 2 months past the halfway mark of the year, so probably still right around 1,100 calls for the year, give or take. So it's pretty good. Training. So total training hours so far for 22 is 1,564.8 hours total. Monthly hours between July 7th and August 18th is 236.5 hours total. So, and a lot of that training's been because we had our wildland grant hirees come on board, and so we've been doing a lot of training with them also. So we've got a little influx from that.
Well, Station 74 is still sitting out there. Everything still works, and check it about once a week. I missed it last week, but I check them out, fire everything up and let it run for a while. And honestly, it's about time to bring them in town and just to fill them with diesel from checking them. So, Station 73, Tidewater. Again, all the apparatus is still, like you've seen our brush trucks out front. The tender's still at city shops, and we're honestly going to keep it there through the fire season, just because we've already had a call for it twice, and it was really convenient to be able to run over there and grab it. Brush 73, the new crew and each shift kind of went through it and really cleaned it up, and it's getting it ready to go. They spent a lot of hours detailing it, so big kudos to them for their hard work for doing that. The gas line's been installed to the building. The propane tank's full, and the generator's up and running, and it's fully tested. So when I walk in there and flip the main breaker off to the building, it just kicks on. So it takes over the power, which is essential because I had them wire in the down drops for all the trucks, so that they stay charged even during long power outages, as well as the Conex box where the water system will be held is going to be on that generator, and 1 set of the bay lights will be on, and then the office, of course, with the security system and so on, will all be on the generator when the power goes out. So drywall's all done. It took them about a week longer to get it done just because the mud wouldn't dry. It's been so humid that he couldn't get it to dry, so it took him about a week longer to get everything smooth. But it's now, as of today, all the drywall's done. The paint's pretty much all done. I have the brick walls to do, and some of the back areas where I staged some tools to paint the floor. Well, I say paint, it's actually staining the concrete. So it's that really nice gray instead of stained up oily stuff, 50-year-old concrete. I called the electrician, and big kudos to them. It's All Start Electric, or not All Start, All State. No, All Electric, just All
Yeah.
Electric. Sorry. Anyhow, he's been really right on it whenever I called him, and I called him honestly anticipating getting on his schedule until next week. He's now 90% done with everything what he's done. So he went in and he's got a few little things to do, but I made him stop so I can do the floor. So electrical should be done by tomorrow, which will be a big plus. So I ordered the rest of the trim work. I know on the maintenance report I put down August 31st for an open house, but that's our virtual training. So, and I was informed of that after I put it out. So now we're shooting for September 3rd for an open house up there.
Which is actually a Saturday, so more residents up there can be able to.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Okay.
kind of see, and in all fairness, it's not going to be 100% complete. There's still going to be some things like the water system won't be up and running. It's pretty much there. Everything's there. It just needs to be all put together. There may be some trim work, some painting touch-ups, that kind of stuff, but it'll have all of our equipment in it. And the overall project will be able to call pretty much complete, other than little tinkery stuff running around up there, so I'm kind of excited to be
Yeah.
done.
Just out of curiosity, is there restroom facilities up there?
I do have an outhouse, like we talked about at one meeting. I went, instead of renting one, I put a outhouse out there, a porta potty. Now the trick is finding somebody to service it.
Yeah,
I've called about 6 companies now, and nobody will go out to Tidewater. So I am gonna call one of them back and kind of, because it's not gonna need to be serviced very often.
right.
So I'm gonna call one of them back and kind of, they're local here, and just say, hey, look, you know, I know it'll probably be a minimum, but if we need it serviced, will you please just handle it? So they used to do porta potties, but no longer do it, so I don't want to say their name in case they absolutely decline. I don't want to make them
Right,
look bad,
yeah,
but
I understand that.
anyhow, I understand why they don't. They have minimums, and with the county putting in septic contracts now, maintenance contracts, where
Yeah.
homeowners are having to do that, they're overwhelmed. So I understand why they turned it down, but I'm kind of hoping that, you know, 2 or 3 times a year, we have them maybe stop by, and even if I have to put water back in it, they'll just empty it for me.
Right. Well, I mean, we
So-
can probably do just the general cleaning when it needs.
Yeah,
to.
we can do the general
Be
cleaning.
done,
It's just the
yeah.
emptying that we can't do,
Right,
so.
yeah, I understand. Well, I mean, if we're going to have an open house up there, I'm just thinking that
Yeah, it'd be nice to
we
have
may want
something.
to have it available for
Yeah.
open house. you
This
know,
is true, so
Yeah.
I may have to figure something out quickly then. As far as all the apparatus down here, Engine 72 had a couple little issues that we got corrected yesterday. Some air supply issues and leaks, so, but we got those corrected yesterday. And today, the brush truck, I'm in kind of a panic because it's now got some oil coming in places it shouldn't on the pump, so I want to get that fixed right away, because that's especially in the height of our fire season, so, but
Yeah,
I like to be honest with you guys, so, yeah, we're having, not always perfect every month. So this month we have a couple little things going on, but for the most part, it'll be fixed hopefully tomorrow.
well, as long as the little things don't become big things,
That's my job, is
Yeah.
trying to make that not happen, so hopefully we'll have it fixed tomorrow and it won't be an issue, so. Other than that, I'm all done, unless you guys have questions for me.
Is that pump something that we can service in-house, or are we gonna have to bring in?
Yes, we should be able to service. What I think is wrong with it, I can fix. I've got to call into Darley, and if it turns out from my explanation to them what's going on, and it turns out it's more, then yeah, then we'll have to I'll have to take it over the valley or somebody come over here, so. But I'm very careful when it comes to that, because I know there's certain things I cannot do, just for liability reasons, so I make sure to really watch that.
okay.
I don't really have a report tonight because all the stuff that I have is actually already on the agenda. So we'll get to it as we go down.
Okay. We have a volunteer report tonight.
The volunteers we have been showing up and serving for calls. Our 2 other chaplains, other than myself, they had 2 calls recently that they were fully involved with, and took care of those. We have 1 new volunteer that's on a sabbatical right now. He's injured, so we're not counting him. He's been with us the longest, but he has an eye issue, so he can't drive. So he's down right now. We're still trying to recruit. It's good to see these 2 next to me and know that we have young ones that are at least on board and they're here. Yeah, the volunteers, so looking for people. And Wendy's got the second part of it because she knows all the other stuff the volunteers are doing that I don't know.
Bingo night mainly.
Yeah.
It's kind of you.
Wait, it's being passed. We are, tomorrow night, we're doing another bingo night, so if you guys care to join, we'd love to have you. Doing, of course, the normal hot dogs and nachos we did last month, but we've also added, because per request, finger foods. So I've had to hide them because I think the crew would eat them if they knew what I got, so. But
Pepperoni sticks, teriyaki sticks,
Oreos, Reese's Cups,
Yeah.
good stuff.
they're all locked away.
Yeah.
My office is available for storage. Somewhere to put them.
Well, you do realize that it has to have board approval.
Oh, for to taste test?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the biggest thing we got going right now for as far as fundraisers go is the bingo night. So we're hoping tomorrow we'll have a few more people. We had a group there last month that was just a kick in the pants.
They'll be here again.
Yeah, from what I can see on Facebook, they're gonna be here again, so. But it's a growing thing, it's a learning thing. We keep making changes. We got banners now with actual designated games and stuff, colors and so on, so. Hopefully we can keep it
And we've
getting more fun.
We've had a lot of the Walport Wednesday market vendors donate items, so we've been able to hold raffle drawings and just give away prizes and stuff. And they actually donated a few more things this last week and stuff, so it's been really nice. They would love it. They would put all our flyers up too on their booth, so.
Very good. Okay, Brett, you're up. Finance report.
The district at the end of July had on hand $553,329 in cash. So to start the fiscal year off, so we did fine there. We didn't have any current levy funds that we collected for this fiscal year. We did have, in the month of July, we did have some prior levy funds of $3,419. Being as we're this early on in the year, there's really not a whole lot of activity to report
Right.
beyond the usual we do. I did want to mention that Tidewater Station, the improvements from the beginning to now, or through the end of July, $140,714, which is far below what we anticipated.
Right. Well, and that's in large part due to Eric's efforts to keep things under budget, which is much appreciated. Okay, so we have the approval of expenditures. We normally approve the financial report and then approve paying the bills and so on. And then the third item on the finance report is a OSFM grant resolution, which I can go ahead and read. Well, let's go ahead and approve the financial report.
Make a motion to approve the financial report as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the financial report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then the approval of expenditures, you all had a chance to kind of well, at least you two had a chance to review the bills. I didn't see anything particularly untoward. So if we have a motion to approve paying the bills,
I move that we pay the bills.
okay, can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve paying the bills. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Oh, aye, motion carries. And now I'll read resolution. Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Resolution 2022-06, supplemental budget, amending the budget for fiscal year 2022-23. Whereas ORS 294.338, parens 2, provides for the expenditure of grants, gifts, or devices transferred to a municipal corporation in trust for specific purposes. Whereas ORS 294.71, or 471, provides for requirements as to estimates of and limitations on expenditures during the fiscal year or budget period for which the original budget was adopted. the governing body of a municipal corporation may make one or more supplemental budgets. Therefore, the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Governing Board resolves that the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District budget appropriations for the fiscal year 2022-23 are hereby amended as follows. And in all these cases, the amount is increased. So we have the general fund requirement or expenditure, line item 6033, OSFM grant revenue, $35,000. Line item 8010, OSFM wages, $20,582.40. OSFM overtime wages, $3,798.76. FICA, $1,865.16. SUTA, $193.08. PERS, $3,060.60. Workman's Comp, $35,000. OSFM grant, wildfire grant expenses other of $2,000. This is to budget for OSFM, Oregon State Fire Marshal wildfire grant wages, payroll taxes, PERS, and related expenses not budgeted for but received for the fiscal year 2022-23. And adopted by the General Governing Board of the Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District this 18th day of August 2022.
Workman's comp is 3,500.
So did I say 35,000? Well, I thought 3,500 was high too. I must have just added the zero
Put
on there, but
another zero on there, yeah.
3,500 for workman's comp is, I realize it's a dangerous thing, but wow.
It won't come out to that much.
I realize that. So, anyway, can I have a motion to, well, I guess, first of all, do we have any discussion on the resolution? Basically a resolution acknowledging the grant that we received. So, then I guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay? I hear a second.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2022-06. All those in favor? Aye. All, okay, the motion carries.
So if I could real quick, since we're on the topic, Shannon Cox, that stand up, and Connor Mercer. So these are the two volunteers that we hired on for the temporary position. I can't speak today. Temporary position that lasts till October 31st, and then any money that's left over from the grant, it's the anticipation to apply to use those funds to extend their positions into November to cover the full fire season for us. So they are now on duty, even right now, until 7 o'clock tonight, and they work 5 days a week for 9 hours a day. So,
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a comment to see how old they are, right? There is one other resolution. I don't know if you want to wait for.
Oh, yeah.
New business or.
Well, this is under, still under finance. Currently, I am the only signatory on the LGIP, the only one that is authorized to transfer money. And we don't ever want to be in a position where there's only one person authorized to do that. So, I went ahead and suggested that our treasurer be the other person to transfer, unless anyone else really wants the job. It's basically usually handled electronically, although it can be done by phone, and it's moving money from the local government investment pool, where most of our money goes, to our operating account to pay bills and that sort of thing. So, Resolution 2022-07, resolution authorizing bank account signer addition. Whereas the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District has authoritative power to create and maintain checking accounts, equipment levy funds, reserve funds, etc., to maintain operation of the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District hereby authorizes the following bank account change for the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District. Add District Board Member Kevin Battles as an account signer for the Local Government Investment Pool, LGIP account, Equipment Reserve Fund, number 6046, Local Government Investment Pool, LGIP account, Building Property Reserve Fund, 6045, and Local Government Investment Pool, LGIP account, General Public Funds, 6044. I mean, as you can tell from the verbiage, we have 3 accounts with the LGIP. So monies that are earmarked from the equipment reserve go into one fund, and building and property reserve, and then we have the general public funds where the rest of the tax dollars go. Do we have any questions or comments?
You want to do that, Brett? Do you want to do that? Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Okay. I have a motion to approve Resolution 2022-07.
So we'll,
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Do we have any correspondence?
Not this time.
Okay, then I guess we're up with old business. SDAO training virtual option hosted at Station 72, lunch provided August 31st.
Yep, so we'll put it up on the big screen here. We'll have the whole room set up so that we can interface back and forth with SDAO as needed for questions and clarity. And then all we need to know if anybody has any specific dietary needs or whatnot. I think we're probably just gonna order in a Subway platter, so it'll be sandwiches, chips, and drinks for lunch. So.
And is everyone going to be able to attend it? You know?
What time is that at again?
I believe it's like an all-day.
8:30 to 4.
Yeah, 8:30 to 4 on the 31st, which is a work day.
Yeah. Let me see.
I'm gonna do my best. I'm on shift that day, but
Okay. Yeah, I've set aside the day.
Yeah, all the administrative staff will be here.
Yeah, it was the only one that they had that was virtual, but usually when they do those, they'll record them and then get them on their website later. So if you're not able to make it, then once I get on their website, I can send you the link so that you can still go through it. And honestly, at a little faster pace.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, and the second item under old business is the auditor proposal.
So I finally heard back from a couple of them. One is not taking on new clients. Another one, his calendar is already full. And the other 2, I've never heard from. This is the only one that I've heard from that is available. I did start calling references and I saw just before we started the meeting, they tried to call me back because they were out, to just kind of get, some feedback from them. I actually tried to reach out to this person themselves to see about just giving, sending us an actual engagement letter and stuff like that. He's actually out on vacation till Monday, so they would be able to do that next week if you guys chose to go with them. But out of 7 or 8 that we've contacted, I think only 4 total have actually gotten back to us.
Yeah.
And this is the only one that's been able to submit a proposal. Otherwise, you'd have more.
Well, and, they do have references with other fire districts and so on. I've reviewed it. I think it's reasonable proposal.
How does the price compare to what we're paying now?
Yeah, that was one of the things I found very reasonable about it.
Oh, okay. Half. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just a little more than half of what we paid last year.
And it would be a 3-year contract then?
Yeah, they've given us a proposal for the 3 years.
And then if we don't like what we see, is there any outs, or how does that work?
You know, I didn't look for that specifically.
They typically do 3 years because that's usually, everybody switches out or goes out for new proposals every 3 to 5 years. So they only do the 3 years.
Brett, what are your thoughts on this?
Beg your pardon?
What are your thoughts?
They look fine to me. I don't know this firm, but I'm sure that they've been in business for like 63 years. So. And they have to be listed with the state of Oregon as a municipal law.
Right.
And they are. I think they're.
Yeah.
I don't know their work.
Well, and I'm sure that if and when it came to the point of needing to, dissolve the contract, I don't see anything in there that's holding us to it either. That would be
Yeah,
an
and I don't think
engagement
this is
letter.
the actual contract for
No.
This is
no.
just the
services,
RFP.
so.
This is the proposal.
So the person who would actually be doing the audit, who would handle ours, is the Russell T. Reyes, and he's a managing partner. So on page 6, it's got all the stuff about him specifically.
I think at this point, we're just looking for direction from the board. If you want us to pull an agreement to review, and then if happy with it, then you could make a motion to sign it and approve it. So
Yeah.
if that's the next step you want us to take.
Yeah, I'm good going down this road.
My concern is if we don't decide soon, everybody's calendar's going to be
Right,
full.
yeah. I agree with that. It would be nice to see if they can get it submitted on time. I mean, if they've been in business for 63 years,
And we're
Chances
also
are
at
they
the,
can-
we're also at the 90 days of this being valid.
yeah.
We're actually just past it, but
Yeah.
they're willing to extend it.
So, assuming we can get the engagement letter from them next week, do we want to consider just sending a copy of the letter out to the board members and see if anybody has any questions or concerns about it?
Yeah.
And then if not, I suppose we could make a motion tonight that, barring any concerns or questions on the engagement letter, that we could authorize me to sign the engagement letter if we want to. That's up to you guys.
I'm fine with this. 63 years in business, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
So let's just go down that road.
Okay, you want to make a motion to that then?
Motion that we, as you said, barring anything that.
Any concerns about the
Any
engagement letter?
concerns at the engagement letter, we authorize the signing,
Okay.
moving forward with
Okay.
it. Second?
Second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Very good.
Brett, do you want to talk about the current contract?
Yeah.
Got it.
We signed the agreement, basically, so, yeah. Stuck with it.
Yep.
Okay. So that's all under old business. Now we have new business. Form committee to work with Seal Rock on a new program.
Yep, so this comes from our workshop. So in your packets, you'll have a copy of the intergovernmental agreement, the most
In the very
up-to-date
back.
one. So I'm gonna give you a quick, very, very fast, from what we talked about at the workshop, so that the main portion of the agreement is essentially the first 2 pages, front and back. And so that's the purpose with the recitals, the termination, renewal, and amendments, the review, evaluation, and quality assurances, liabilities, defaults, personnel, complaint resolutions, amendments, and execution. So that's the main part of the IGA. This is all that is active between Central Coast and Seal Rock. They have removed the appendixes 1, 2, and 3 from the agreement. So none of that has anything to do with any operations whatsoever. It's just how the IGA functions as a system. The appendix 1 was sharing personnel between fire officers and firefighters, the clarifications. Appendix 2 was when we were holding the administrative portions of the training program for them and for us combined. And then Appendix 3 was the continuity of operations to make sure that as each district was gaining equipment and tools, that we were staying with a consistency between the 2 agencies, so we weren't training on 2 different sets of equipment and tools every time something got purchased. So when you essentially take these 3 appendixes and remove them, there's really nothing but legal terms left to the IGA. So there is no IGA, essentially. So my proposal that I brought up at the workshop was to, according with Section 2 in the Master IGA, for termination, to provide a 90-day written notice to leave the IGA, what's left of it. So there's that portion of it. On top of that, to create and remove any of the history, and to build a new system, once you do, if you do form a committee, to remove auto aid for the time being and adhere strictly to the county mutual aid plan, just like everybody else does, until the committees can meet and form up a clear, concise, and understandable agreement between the 2 agencies.
Board have any comments?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we extend it another 90 days to a drop dead and see if we can't go at it a different direction. I understand. I think there's a lot of play here, how things happen, changing fire personnel, that type of thing, but I'd like to take a run at it.
Well, would it be better to, I believe in essence, they've already decided to terminate the IGA.
Did you have a letter to that effect?
Have we received a letter?
They've 3 times at their board meetings, they've made
They may have stated it.
verbal
Yeah.
statement that they want to terminate the IGA. They've also mistakenly stated the termination date, which is not true. It doesn't terminate till the end of the year.
Right.
I don't know if they ever intended to do a written notice or not, or if they were just going to terminate it on their terms. But we do not have a letter, a
Right.
physical letter, no.
So they're not in compliance with Section 2.
There's nothing to comply with.
Well, I mean,
So
Right.
when you remove the appendixes, there's nothing to comply with. There's no clarification on what we're sharing, what we're doing, how we're doing it, other than legally how we would if there was one. So if we still had an appendix to share personnel, then there would be something to operate inside the IGA. But because they said they don't want any of the appendixes in there, they just want to follow the master IGA, there's nothing operationally to follow.
But it says in section 2 of the appendixes that the provisions of this appendix shall be as provided in the master IGA. And if I'm reading that right, the master IGA says, if you're going to terminate, then you're going to give me a 90-day notice.
That's right.
So I don't care how many meetings they have, they can talk all they want about how they're going to, but until we get a letter from them stating that in 90 days they're terminating, they're not terminated.
Right.
So and if they aren't going to follow this, and I know this is old business, this is like predates me being here, but instead of just playing games with it, I'm all for you send them the letter, giving them 90 days, and then we also at the same time propose that we constitute a committee that includes both chiefs and members of their board, members of this board, and we sit down and we try to understand what's gone wrong, what our perceptions of the other are as far as not meeting this document, and try to resolve that with either continuing this or rewriting it so that it is agreeable to both sides.
Yeah, and that can be included in the letter. You
Right.
know, we could draft it up so that it says, well, we want to do this. This is also what we'd like to see inside that 90-day window as well, which gives what Ray's asking for.
Well, the motion that I made, there's a motion on the table. I made a motion.
So we can't extend it though, the only problem, the motion is it's already in effect, so extending it is not anything, right?
Well, we don't have anything. We have, in my opinion, a lot of rumors,
Yeah,
not a lot of facts. They're not performing, I understand that. Well, what I'm looking at is farther down the road, what do we want to accomplish? And as we talked in the workshop, we want to talk about basically consolidation or whatever. An IGA is not going to be enough,
Yeah,
and we can't keep going out for these tax things. I'm just trying to get past that.
sure.
And I think that, you know, I don't think there was good faith done in the past. That's an assumption on my part. I wasn't in meetings, you were in meetings. There were people talking. I'm just trying to give it a longer breath that it may happen faster than the 90 days.
Yeah.
But I don't think the time that I made a motion for is going to make that much difference
Right.
in the end result, right?
Yeah. I think that because operationally, there's nothing to adhere to, whether it exists or it doesn't change what happens once you get to the table with them. You're going to form something new either way. So I think that by just removing what's left of this and removing the auto aid and then coming to them and saying, hey, okay, now we're starting fresh. What do you guys want to do going forward? How do you want to do it? Because clearly they don't like this. Auto aid operationally, I want to know who we're auto aiding with and what they're doing, and I don't know that. And I don't want to bring details into a public meeting for that. So I'm going to leave it at that, and hopefully that's enough for right this very second. I'm happy to clarify after the meeting, but when it comes to just automatically responding over there and not even knowing who we're going to show up on scene with right now, that's an issue. If I do the complete 180 and I respond into Yachats tonight, I know every single person at Yachats, I know all their training, I know all their background for what they've done in that district, at least recently, to where I have a comfort level that if I show up on scene, the people that are there with our firefighters are meeting standards.
I agree with you. generally. I think we have the very possibility of the same situation happening on the south end of this.
I think, although your motion is good, I want to kind of stress on John's. John's kind of takes yours into play there, except it gives a date. Because the one thing that drives me nuts about, that I've been working on my patience level, as far as working for a public entity, is talking about doing stuff. And John's motion, or not motion, but proposal, says, okay, here's a date. Well, if you don't want to work with us, then we're done.
I guess a better question I would ask
So-
you, do you want to work with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly,
Now, that's a commitment?
yeah. If they're willing to
Well,
come to the
then
table,
Then I don't think that my motion was out of line.
well, just.
I think it's the same motion.
I think it's
So let
basically
me-
the same
let me-
motion.
Let me put it to you a different way. How long has this been going on at this point? We're what, 9 months in?
Signed it
No, it's been a
21.
little over a
May.
year.
That has been running the way it is today?
Yeah.
Okay. So for a year, the taxpayers of this district are picking up the lion's share of the, now hang on, of the coverage, because every time we go over the bridge, like we did in July, and we're the ones that have got the qualifications to go in the building while they're, because they can't. So why are we, all I'm saying is, there's no motive for them to want to come to the table at this point, because we're going to respond. We're going to be there giving them what they want, and they don't have anything now that they
Do you
choose to
think,
be.
John, that I don't know that?
Okay, so I'm just saying
For 16
is,
years, I know that.
so all
What
I'm
I'm
saying
saying
is
is-
that let's put a line in the sand that says, look,
Well, if you drop dead right now, you cut the cord. You may never get to the table again. So that isn't a good negotiating.
do you really think they want to negotiate?
I think there's an opportunity. I'm willing to try it because I tried with the whole county and was successful. So I'm willing to try that.
So I think the difference here is I don't view this as cutting the cord, right?
Right.
I view this as clearing the air. Trying to start on a stable surface where there's nothing on either side of the fence that's holding the other one accountable for anything, and we're coming together and saying, we're gonna start something new, what do we wanna do? No,
Can we-
it's not really a cutting the cord in my,
I would agree.
you know.
I would agree. I'm only saying that then they should run simultaneously. We should get into those agreements as soon as we can. Not wait till 90 days and get into the agreement.
I think if you form a committee tonight, you could actively start anytime after tonight, and you have a 90-day window to try to hold them
Yeah,
accountable. to
and
get
then
them-
basically, I think that's what I was going to suggest.
There's nothing to lose, really.
I mean, that's what I was going to suggest, is, I think you're correct. What we should do is avail ourselves of that 90-day notice, send a letter to them, and indicate our willingness to meet and work on this during that 90-day period, rather than, you know, trying to sever it tonight, since according to the agreement, we're supposed to give 90 days.
Right.
Let's go ahead and give the 90 days. And during that 90-day period, meet with them and talk to them about what changes need to be made, or if changes can be made, that would be satisfactory to both groups.
I would be in favor of sending a 90-day letter with the pure intent of saying, we will only execute the 90 days if no progress is made towards a new agreement.
Sounds reasonable.
And that's all I meant, is just, it gives a date. you
I mean,
know.
it just says, hey, we're gonna give a 90-day notice, only if there is no stride or any effort or anything that goes towards negotiating a new contract or IGA, basically, like an improvement upon it. You don't even have to change it all. I mean, it was written, I mean, it's not horrible, right? I mean, it's got good basics. You just have to change some things, right? To where all parties agree and whatever. So you could do it 90 days, just like we're all talking about, and just say as long as there's progress, then we won't execute that 90 day.
I think we're threatening. My point would be, you're threatening.
Yeah. I guess you're right. I don't think we need to threaten. I mean,
So, Ray,
Well, no,
did-
but I mean, it's, if you don't, it's kind of like if you don't have a consequence at the end of whatever it is you're going to agree to. I mean, if they've already voted on 3 different board meetings that they want to end it, now granted, whether they've actually pulled off on that or not, who knows? But at the end of the day, if they're having those conversations, and honestly, this is pretty straightforward. I don't know what they find wrong with it, other than they just can't meet some of the stuff. But at the end of the day, I like what you're saying, is that we need constitute a committee that includes both chiefs, and then just say, we need to see progress. And if there isn't going to be progress, then yes, at the end of 90 days, we're going to terminate because you're not showing good faith. If they're not going to show good faith, then I want the option to say we're done.
Forget the option. Okay.
We.
Yeah,
I'm speaking.
I hear a lot of I.
Right, but I am speaking for me.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if
I'm
the
only
rest
one
of
of
everybody else
oh,
agrees
five,
with it,
yeah.
then it's a we.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So one or two things. You have to alter my motion.
well, the
Or
motion hasn't been
amended, or
seconded. The
amended.
motion is still on the
Or
table.
amended it. There's still got a motion out here.
Yeah.
What was my suggestion was, I just took it to 180 days. That's
Yeah.
all I did. I took it 90, and if we did it in 90 days, then we served the letter. Now, what you're saying is, we're not gonna gain or lose anything as it stands presently, correct? I mean, you're saying that it doesn't exist now.
It hasn't existed,
It
right?
hasn't
It doesn't-
existed
yeah,
that
it doesn't
way,
exist.
and that's a good thing, that's all I'm saying. I'm just asking for a little more time.
Well, 90
But it may be that in 90 days, when we serve the letter, we walk away anyway. I just don't want to walk away too fast.
Yeah, I mean, things happen
No, I mean-
pretty darn slow in municipalities or in special districts, I'll say. So I'm almost kind of more, working slower, or giving it a little bit more time, just because good Lord, things work really slow. I mean, that's one of the things I learned over the 5 years is I hate how slow they run, but it's just one of the deals, I feel like.
I hear you, but I'm also of the opinion that if they don't, if we can't make something happen at least with even one meeting in the next 90 days,
Yeah.
then that's telling. And while I don't, under normal circumstances, 180 days wouldn't be that big of a deal, but if we can't get something going in 90, why do we want to give them another 90?
Yeah.
Well, the 90,
I'm concerned that approaching it in that fashion may have the opposite effect with that board, knowing the
Right.
board members that I know. I don't think they would take kindly to a demand like that.
Well,
Speaking
for-
from
Okay,
previous
so
knowledge.
at this point,
A demand of what? That, hey,
Oh, just saying that
I
we
want
can-
to talk to you between now and what, October? The end of
I'm just
October?
concerned, even
Let's-
though it's probably not, I'm just concerned that they will take it that way. I mean, I'm just trying to go into this gingerly, with ginger feet.
gentlemen, right now we have a motion that was made for 180 days. I did not hear a second to that motion. Was there a second to that motion?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So that motion
Yeah.
dies.
Got any thoughts on it?
Now you can talk, because now, whatever the discussion ends up with, we will have a new motion.
Is there,
I agree with, we have a document here that's not beneficial to both parties, right? It needs to be readdressed so that both agencies can adhere to it, but I think it needs to be approached in a manner that is not attacking. and it needs to be negotiated. It might take a little bit more time, but the 90 days, I mean, that's 3 months, right? My opinion is regardless of whether we decide to send the notice tonight or not, we need to make sure we move forward to, with the intent to form a committee to renegotiate this. I think that's important.
I would say we send a letter stating, hey, we want to get back together in the next 90 days. You know, and you leave it at that. I mean, we want to get something concrete created in the next 90 days. And then at that point, I mean, like we've said a million times, it's a moot point at this point, whether it's in fashion or not. We're gonna have mutual aid that we're gonna have to go there anyways. Like, whether this contract is in order, operationally, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're gonna do the same thing whether we end it at 90 days or we end it at 180 days. Literally operational, we're still gonna go to the fire. They're still gonna come down here on mutual aid. Literally, this agreement at this point is a mutual aid agreement. Like, that's all this is.
We are going to adhere to the county mutual aid agreement that we all signed.
Yeah. And so that's all this really is at this point, is a mutual aid agreement, right? So whether we end it at 180 days or end it at 90 days or...
It's not an agreement at all. It's
Exactly,
nothing.
that's what I'm saying. Like, so it really doesn't matter whether we say we're gonna end it in 5 years, because
Yeah.
there's nothing adhered here and nothing is happening with it. So,
I think there's a way to kind of accomplish both worlds. And, you know, that's send the 90-day notice with the notice that we've formed a committee, and these are who are on the committee, because if you form a committee now, you'll have to pick people. And our intentions that we'd like to meet, and that if you agree, we reserve the right to extend it 90 more days to make sure that as long as we're making progress, we have the time sufficient to get something completed. That kind of fills both worlds, right? It still puts a 90-day timeline on it initially.
I agree with you, Chief. The only thing that I'm afraid of is if we serve the 90 days, we might stop it right then.
I mean, it's a possibility, you know, but if they want to work with us, just like we're reaching our hand out here too, if they want to work with us.
I would restate the motion again.
Okay?
Speak up, speak
I
up.
think that Zach had good points, I think you had good points, and you had good points. I just don't think there's anything lost by extending it 90 days. Because really, what we're going to do, if it doesn't work in 90 days, we're out of there one way or another.
Well, technically, no, because if we give them 90 days now, that will take us through the end of
Well, that's,
November.
what that would be your
Oh, yeah.
standard, that would be your standard notice anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
okay, so why don't we say this then? Why don't we meet in the middle? Because we have, the contract ends on December 31st, correct?
Correct.
Without 90 days notice of either party.
Yeah. So we give notice, we just say, we're giving notice right now that says, hey, if if we don't make any kind of adjustments to the IGA before the end of the IGA timeline, which would be December 31st,
December 31st.
We will let the IGA lapse at that point. That gives us to the end of the year. We're not making any demands. We're just saying, hey, we're going to let it lapse because it's not being used. I mean, we don't have to be aggressive about this, right? I mean, that gives us to the December 31st. We don't have to give any more notices other than that, because that's going to be the end of the agreement anyways, right?
Good.
What do you think?
Does that work, John?
Yeah.
That gives you more time to do what you want to try to accomplish.
I think so.
It's not, it doesn't come across as hostile.
What we don't know is what was done in good faith.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to notify Seal Rock,
You still have a motion on the table, right?
No,
that-
at this point, this is a new motion.
notify Seal Rock that we will allow the IGA to lapse at its expiration of December 31st, 2022. But we are also interested in forming a new committee with the fire chiefs to discuss reforming the IGA to improve it. Sorry, I threw a lot out there, but I wanted to make sure it was all in one motion. So, does that make sense to everybody? Or do we need to
With-
adjust that motion?
With an initiation of that committee within the next 90 days. We should at least meet.
No, I'm just saying we have to do
Try to meet
something.
in 30 days.
Hmm?
We should try to meet in 30 days.
Okay, so amending my motion to say the two committees from each board shall meet within the next 30 days to initiate initial conversations.
Good.
Did we all follow that? Am I?
And do you want a shall in there, or will try? Just simply because putting the shall in.
Good faith
there means-
effort would be nice. See a good faith effort in that. I mean, I don't know when their next board meeting is, but it could already be lapsed and blah, blah,
I
blah.
believe it's tonight, isn't it?
It's right now.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
if they go to their next thing in 30 days, right? I mean,
Yeah.
31 days.
Yeah,
because
that's why I'm
it's
saying
31
you don't
days.
want to say a shall in there, you want to kind of leave it a little.
I would say it's more of a good faith effort and an attempt where we feel like they're saying, hey, we want to do this, right?
Right.
I mean, they could
Because-
be ending the IJ for all we know right now. too,
Well,
but-
the other thing to think about too is that tonight we're making this motion. And they're meeting tonight, so they won't even have a chance to take action on this motion by appointing their committee until their next meeting, which is already 30 days away.
So I would say within the next 60 days, I would
Okay.
amend my thing,
All right.
which, yeah.
Do we want to define the committee?
I think I just defined it, I said,
I think that's a separate
committee has to
action.
be.
That'll be a separate
Yeah,
action.
we'll define our committee when we elect them, right?
Yeah, well, that's, once we made this motion,
Because my motion included the
The
chiefs
motion- the
and
motion of
members of
intent.
the board, right?
yeah, but it's generic, basically.
And we two members, because we can't have more than two members of the board anyway, so I guess that's a given that there would be two members of the board and each fire chief.
Right, but we aren't specifying which members of the board.
Yeah, I
That would be a
expect
separate
No,
action.
when I said that the
Yeah,
chiefs need to be
the chief,
involved.
the chief is, I mean, we aren't gonna be, appointing a new chief, so that's.
Somewhere in there, there was
Yeah.
a motion.
There was a motion with a
Yeah.
lot.
So that was the motion, was there a second to that motion?
I will second that
Okay, did you get all that?
Can we get read back what we have written down
Yeah.
first, that before we start writing, please?
I would like to be able to do that. We will give notice to Seal Rock that if there are,
So,
That-
give notice to Seal Rock that we will allow the IGA to lapse by December 31st. But we'll form a committee, actually, two committees.
Well, it would be a
One
committee
joint
Form
comprising.
a committee to meet with their committee.
Immediately? We will? Oh, we will, yeah.
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 From each board to meet within the next 60 days, make a good faith effort to correct, and then, however did you want to do that,
Come to an agreement.
come to an agreement.
Does that basically cover what you said?
The committee will consist of a fire chief from each department and two board members.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that the fire chiefs are included in the discussion.
That's what last time.
So you want that included in the part?
I do want that included in that, as I want that included in the letter
That's what went wrong
that will be
last time.
drafted.
That's what I said.
Okay, did we get a second to that motion?
Yes, John did.
John's seconded.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So then I guess the next item would be appointing the committee to meet with Seal Rock.
well, yeah, you could.
I mean, we're going to appoint committee members.
I also asked
They-
about direction on auto aid.
Right. Let's deal with the IGA first. Or
Okay.
do we want the same committee to,
I think the same committee should address both.
Can we make a motion afterwards, once we get this addressed, and then make a motion?
well, yeah, we
to
can,
oversee both?
if you want, we can go ahead and talk about the IGA.
Sure.
And then the issues with the IGA are,
Well, the IGA, which you guys have covered, is good for the question that I asked. The second question is do we continue auto aid?
auto aid, right.
Given
that
the
was
current circumstances, or do we just adhere strictly to the county mutual aid plan until the two committees meet and an auto aid agreement can be formed between the two districts that's got more clarity to it? That's the
Now, do
question.
we have a separate auto aid agreement right now with them?
I don't think we have an agreement, right? So we can't cancel an agreement we never have.
Yeah, that's.
No, I'm saying, do we continue to do auto
Okay,
aid?
our practice has been to do
Yeah.
auto aid where we
Or-
basically run on every call, right?
No, so Will asked a few months back to push that back to, we're responding on structure fires, car accidents, and CPRs. And so that's what we auto aid on.
Okay.
So what that means is whether they go or not, we go. If we adhere strictly to mutual aid, they go. If they need us, they call us, and then we go. So we're just going, we don't know if they even need us or not under auto aid. Under
Right.
mutual aid, the mutual aid agreement, they would go if there's something in the dispatch notes that makes them feel like they're gonna need the extra, they'd ask for us, or if they get on scene and they do an assessment and decide that they need more, they'd ask for us.
So if they are unable to respond,
Then it would divert to, basically dispatch will do a tone out, wait 5 minutes. If nobody responds, they'll do a second tone out. If nobody responds, it goes next closest resource.
5 minutes?
5 minutes. Unless I'm, is that?
That's correct.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
That's kind of what
That's a long time.
that is a long time.
Okay, well,
That's if nobody goes.
The one thing that this solves
that's
is
if
we
nobody
get a,
goes
Right,
and
so
responds, they still wait 5 minutes.
if one person from there goes, they can ask for mutual aid right away. If nobody goes, nobody gets on the radio, nobody even acknowledges that there's a call, then dispatch will fall back on their protocol, do 2 dispatches, and then send it out to the next one.
Lord, that's a long time.
So,
we go on a lot of calls that the trucks running up that bridge on things that because of auto aid, that it really doesn't need to. And it's not somebody didn't respond, it's that we didn't need to even drive over the bridge to Baymart and turn around and burn that fuel. At 4 miles a gallon, that's a $30 call when they cancel us before we even get it to the bridge, or they don't need us, or whatever the case. There's a lot of calls like that, and that's what ending the auto part of the aid does. It stops that $30 going out the window every time we go on a fire alarm or not working code, or it's not just it's not cutting them off, because they can get, if they respond to their call like we respond to our calls when dispatch goes, we're on the radio, engine 72's en route. Well, if we take the auto aid out even from Seal Rock, that means Seal Rock's not coming this way, so they're saving money as well. There's a lot of wear and tear on rigs happening right now under auto aid, which, yes, generally is a good thing, except that it's costing a lot of money for both districts, because we're firing rigs up and getting them down the road, hitting brakes and burning brakes up and burning fuel that we don't need to burn on a fire alarm.
I've pushed my operational oversight, as much as I can on this by putting that we'll just go on standby for fire alarms, because fire alarms have a high volume of false activation. So we're still on the call box, we're still on the response, but we're not actually leaving our station until someone says we need you. So that's as far as I can push it at this point without
Right.
not going into an auto aid.
If it wasn't for the fact that it's that 5 minutes, wait time. I don't know, I'm inclined to, you said he's already requested to pull back to just basically the three types of incidents.
Right. And then
That-
he also sent a request to go over a new auto aid agreement.
Right.
And so that's where the money-
I think at this point that I'm real hesitant to just pull the plug. I'm real uncomfortable with that idea. The fact that we want to meet already and discuss the IGA, it's an opportune time to discuss the mutual aid agreement as well. And all in good faith, yeah. But, yeah, I think we'll just have to maintain status quo until the committees meet, I think. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel about it, but,
I think things need to be revisited, but when you bring up the possibility of a 15-minute, no one's coming,
yeah.
that's an ethical issue.
Yeah, at this point, knowing what I know, it sucks, but I feel like our voting public would still be behind me in the decision of continuing that.
Yeah, it's fine. I need to have something to take back to him and say, yeah, we want to meet up, but we're going to meet under this new committee,
Mhm.
so.
Yep.
Do we need a motion, or do we
No.
just leave it as is right now?
No, you would only need a motion if you were going to change it
Right,
outside.
okay.
So since we're going to continue to keep it as is, I don't think there's, unless somebody thinks differently.
Okay, well, then, I guess we're at the point of who wants to be on the committee.
Ray does. I'll nominate Ray to be on the committee.
We're gonna need more than one person.
Well, let's vote on Ray first.
I second that.
Oh, okay. It's been moved and seconded to nominate Ray Woodruff to the what do we call it, mutual aid IGA committee.
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I don't want to do it, so I'll nominate John. He sounds excited about this, so.
So much for retirement.
Well, you do have the time.
Oh, yeah, hey. There's still a few that aren't turned gray
Yeah,
yet, so
yeah.
we're working. Well,
Do I hear a second to that nomination?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to nominate John McCulloch to the committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. You have your two committee members. Now, hopefully, Seal Rock will appoint two committee members and we can move forward.
So I'll draft a letter, I'll send it to each of you, and then, is it appropriate just to get verbal, I'm good with this?
Yeah, I think so, and, is the letter gonna have to come over my signature, probably? as
I would
board
say that would be best.
Chair?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, I guess, Jamie's gonna draft a letter and email it out to us if we have any questions or concerns. If not, can I get a motion to authorize me to sign the letter?
I move that we authorize you to sign the letter.
Okay?
And I second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Having meetings only once a month makes it difficult to get things done sometimes.
Yeah, unless.
But no, I don't want to go to meetings every 2 weeks.
Yeah, unless there's gonna be enough people at the training, the SDO training, that we can submit notice for doing a small meeting to approve that letter at that time.
Well, I think it's probably pretty straightforward. And I think, as individuals, we can express any concerns that we might have, but, the end result will be a public document, so I don't think it's too much of a problem.
That would be fine.
Now we have the building committee for city discussion.
Well, so I had a conversation with Dan earlier, and I think that we do need to form a small committee to meet with Representative Gomberg. I don't know that forming a committee to go and address with the city, I think we're pretty clear on where things are with the city right
Yeah.
now, and just continue to work on the proposal for the fire flow water with the representative.
Right.
So we would need to put together a group that would meet with and talk with them, but I don't think we need one for the city right now.
Right, yeah, I don't think so
Based on
either.
the conversation
Yeah.
I had, so.
Now, and we had talked at our workshop about appointing a member of the board. You know, and then suggesting that the city council appoint a city councilor, and then the fire chief and the city manager to meet with Representative Gomberg about the proposal for doing the fire flow, requesting monies for the fire flow improvements. So I don't know if we want to appoint someone to be that person, to do that meeting. When did he say that they were?
We don't have a date to meet yet.
We probably don't, yeah, we probably don't have a date. We may want to just
I would say form this
group.
appointee, so to speak, and then I can go back to Dan and say, okay, we're squared away. Let's figure out a date to meet.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, the council hasn't really talked about that aspect of it either, so,
So
so that's why I'm wondering if we want to do that appointment tonight, or if we want to just wait until the next meeting. You know, at this point, it's going to be probably at least a month or two before anything would happen anyway.
Yeah, totally up
Yeah,
to your decision.
It happened the same night we had the workshop here in the city. They were discussing the same thing over there as we were discussing.
Oh, really?
here at the workshop.
Did-
You might explain, you kind of know what the,
So what we've been working on is to approach Representative Gomberg for the next session, which I believe is in February, to secure $1 million for the district to be given to the city to specifically be put towards fire flow, which will improve the hydrant system for us. But what we get out of this is that if we do this, they've agreed to turn over the fire station to us for $1.
well, actually, what it is the city would no longer need the revenue from the sale of the building to put toward the project.
executive session,
What's that?
executive session.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to at least establish the committee to get
No.
the ball rolling,
No,
you know?
be clear. You get the deed.
So the last time we met with Gomberg, he told us to get back in touch with him in September.
Since then, a friend of mine comes from East County, and he got $4.5 million for them, and they don't even have a station.
Yeah, I actually did see that.
So I think it would behoove us to appoint somebody to meet with Dave Gomberg to discuss this in September.
Yep.
Is that correct?
With the city, yeah.
Well, he's a funny guy. Well, he's not a funny guy. He's a funny guy, but he's pretty easy to work with. But you just got to get him, you can't catch him going through the door,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you can't run that fast.
I think, one person from the board, myself, the city manager, one person from city council should be appropriate enough to
Yeah.
approach and have a plan in place and present the plan.
I think it might be best if it's a leader of the board, not to name names or trying to be.
You know, I'm flattered you think so. I appreciate that. But being that I am an employee of the city, as
Yeah,
well as the fire board president, it just kind of, I know there's some people that have concerns about that already.
gotcha.
I don't really want to do that. Actually, I was thinking about John.
So, okay,
I think
we'll just clear the air. I think and I'm not saying it's gonna be me, because this guy over here could still do it. But I think
historically, there has always risen a perception of, crossing the ethical lines of, conflicts of interest and stuff. So if I was going to clearly speak to that, I would say, no, while there's a lot of information there, the fact that you work for the city, the fact that you're married to somebody that's on the city council, kind of safely takes you two off the table.
Yeah.
Which means it now becomes one of the three of us.
Does it have to be one
And you
member?
keep looking at me, so.
Yeah, well, you are also the vice president, so.
Right. Yeah,
Does it have to be
another
one
weak
member or
moment in my
can-
Yeah,
past,
well,
but at the end of the
because
day,
we're trying to,
Make it smaller.
we
is
want
better
to make it
because we're already
smaller,
with
a
the
little more
city council
informal,
person.
right.
I think,
And I think, if the city's having these conversations, we're having these conversations, we're gonna come together, and have, the idea, you definitely go in front of this man with a solid story. I mean, my experiences with him is that the attention span is about 10 minutes before he wants to move on to the next thing. So, and I think it sounds good, like, in conversations I've had with Chief on it, it's like, for him, he's getting, the two birds with one stone
right.
philosophy, where he can go back and pat himself on the back, like, look, I took care of two things, and it only cost us $1 million.
Sounds like you have a little personal experience with Mr. Gonberg.
I had a conversation with them down at the Yachats readiness fair that they had back in, what was that, June? And, my conversation with him then was trying to get an understanding of why the coast always seems to be last. And his explanation to me was, they realize in this major event of Cascadia that they need to harden the east side of the state first, followed by the center of the state, I-5 corridor, followed by the coast.
The redheaded
being,
stepchildren.
and operationally, I see where that kind of makes sense, because they're further away, it's rock, there's going to be a lot less infrastructure that they actually have to harden. But he was in agreement with me on the idea that the all or nothing approach that seems to be taken is a little bit skewed. And he does, I walked away from that conversation, at least with the feeling that, okay, he's going and he's fighting every day to get as much as he can for us out here on the coast. So I think we definitely have, somebody that is listening to what we're saying, and I think if we go in there with the right approach and we're giving him the most bang for the buck, we're going to be successful with it.
So I stand by my nomination for John.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to nominate John to be on this meeting committee with Representative Gomberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So I'll let Dan know that we formed this, and then so the city can follow
Yep.
suit if they
Yep.
haven't already. And then after that, then the date can be established. And then
Yep.
in between then, I'll put a draft plan together so that we can get it out to all of you.
Very good. Okay, operation levy.
Yep, so in your binders, I have drafted up 2 copies of the notice of measure election and the notice of measure election with the caption, question, and summary on them. So these both go together. This is what's due tomorrow by end of business to be able to get onto the ballot for this November's election. So as we talked at the workshop, there was the 2 proposals that were thrown out. Of course, no decision because it's a workshop, but
Right.
2 proposals that were thrown out for consideration was the 30 cents per thousand and 35 cents per thousand. What I'd like to request is that you table this right now until after the executive session tonight, because I think there's information you're gonna get during the executive session that will affect this decision. And so when we come out of the executive session, then go back to this.
Okay. Board okay with that? All right, so we'll take up the topic under actions, if any, from executive session, or go to the order, rather. And then we have surplus, radios and E-Series Zoll, and I already said that I would not read out the serial numbers of each radio. So.
You just give a radio count.
Huh?
You just give the radio count if you want, it's 21 radios.
Yeah, okay. There are 25 of them?
21.
21, okay. So, we have a request to declare some property surplus. And, so I'll read the request here. Members of the board, Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Number 7 would like to declare the equipment listed below as surplus equipment. It is the district's intention to sell the equipment which is no longer capable to support operations for the district. The equipment to be sold is specified by the serial number below, which I won't read, and is comprised of cardiac monitor units. The equipment is identified by type as follows: a Zoll E-Series and a Zoll 1600. Should the equipment be declared surplus, the equipment will be sold utilizing the GovDeals online government auctions. Research shall be conducted to estimate values for the auction process. Now, do these need to be considered separately or together?
No, they can be considered together. So to give you some further detail, the 1600 has been expired and out of service for a long time. The E-Series expires next month. Zoll will no longer service the E-Series. So next month it'll go out of service and it can no longer be used. We can sell it, a veterinarian can use it, the other people, non-emergency response.
I was going to say, I mean, you know, there's still a possibility of actually realizing some money for these. I mean,
Yeah, and other purposes, but not probably in fire response.
yeah,
So,
okay.
yep. So it's just, we can't carry them anymore. There's no reason to keep them on the shelf, especially the 1600. So we might as well sell them while somebody might want to utilize them still before they go completely out of service.
Okay.
So,
Then the other one is Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Number 7 would like to declare the equipment listed below as surplus equipment. It's the district's intention to sell the equipment, which is no longer needed to support operations for the district. And the equipment to be sold is specified by the serial number below, which I'm not reading, and is comprised of 21 portable radio units.
So we, last year with the serial levy, we purchased portable radios to replace outdated radios and keep up with current standards. In that time, Yahats heard that we were getting rid of them, has asked if they could have them for their operational use. I don't see any issue with that. If the board feels it's okay, I put in there to propose to just provide them to Yahats.
Yes, I didn't read the back part.
So-
Should the equipment be declared surplus, the equipment will be provided to Yahats Fire District for use in their operational needs.
Yeah, so that one's not a surplus to sell, it's a surplus to donate to Yahats. If you agree.
Do we need a motion for each one?
Yep.
Well, I think we can do both of them together if we want to for the, for the purposes for the surplus equipment. I think, donating them to Yahats, if Yahats can use them, I think it's a great idea. If we can get a little bit of money out of the Zolls, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve both resolutions.
Well, they're actually not resolutions, they're surplus declarations.
Declarations, pardon my language.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the surplus declarations. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And printer upgrade.
So the printer that we have is a black and white printer. We have had it since 2016. we've been paying roughly $179.55 for it every month since then. $146.55 is the printer itself, the rest of it is the maintenance program that gets used maybe once a year. Maybe you've seen the guy once in the last 2 years.
Yeah, once in the last 2 years.
We do a lot of stuff periodically that really requires color. And so recently we did 80 flyers to put out in a residential neighborhood of a training that we were doing. And while we love giving our other businesses, local businesses, our business, it costs us 80 cents a copy to do that. So there's a couple options. We can upgrade the current printer to a color printer for an extra $32 a month, plus 6 cents a copy for the colored copies. The black and white stays the same. Or you've got the brochure for what they recommend for the color printer. You also have a couple of options of a couple smaller printers that we were looking at that would do everything that we need it to do. And when you kind of add in, so the HP one, it's $695. When you add in the cost of the toner and stuff like that, which you have to purchase, it comes out to about $75 a month at that point instead of $180. The Brother one comes out to honestly right about $70 a month when you figure in toner and stuff like that. And only if you break it out on a monthly basis. So,
And we're purchasing those ones,
Outright.
not renting them. So
Oh,
that
right,
means
yeah.
that after so many months, when that 690 is paid off, we no longer have that bulk of that fee.
Ongoing
It's just
cost.
toner and supplies.
And I
So,
will say, I've had the Brother one for my cleaning service for over 12 years and ran probably 12,000 copies a month on it in color.
Which one is that?
Huh?
Which one is that?
That's the Brother one.
Yeah.
12,000 copies a month sometimes, and especially in the summertime, and it's still working today for 12 years.
So, I was gonna say, my significant other is an editor, and the Brother laser printer that she has predates me. So, and she's, if she's got a printout, she edits books and memoirs, so when she does a printout to do her thing, it's 1,000 pages sometimes.
Yeah.
And the only thing she ever does is, and the cool thing is there's a great way you recycle the drums back to them, and they give you a discount on your replacements, because that's what she currently does that today. So,
so about the only thing that the smaller ones doesn't do that the larger one does is staple.
Does this one do like the hole punches and all that stuff too? No.
The only thing it does is staple and color. But it is getting, the printer is getting tired. It's an old printer. It gets used quite a bit.
the goal of this is it's gonna reduce the cost overall.
Right.
Because if I'm not paying almost $200 a month every month for the next 5 years, because we own the printers and we're only
How
having
much
to
is the
deal
purchase
with it.
again?
So what?
How much is the purchase again?
It depends on which one you pick.
Well,
They're about
So the
$600,
Brother one is
$700.
$688.93.
Does that fit inside the budget, or are we gonna have to,
there's like a $7 difference between the two.
does it fit inside the budget?
No, this is gonna be more of a pre-planning so that if we decide to do this, it's gonna be in conjunction with no longer doing the contract with
Right.
the company we're doing it with now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Minolta is what they are recommending to do the
Specific
replacement.
office.
It's what we have now is a Konica Minolta, and the Biz Hub is just a black and white one.
Right. And they're great printers, and
They're very
it's,
good.
They are, yeah.
it's industrial strength, but
It's
at the end of
what
the
we
day,
have
it's.
sitting at our house. We have the colored one at our house.
So if the board says we want you to look at this, the next step is we're gonna pull the contract, find out if we have to honor the contract for so much time, or not. If not, we can switch when, as soon as we can meet the contract's terms and reduce the cost even for the rest of this fiscal year.
Right, because I mean, I'm thinking, well, if we've got September, October, November, and December, that's $800 right there that we'd be saving by, if we can get out of the contract.
Right.
Wendy, will this brother do everything that you need and meet the office needs? Or, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
the district's
it's,
needs?
so I had Eric help me research the printers for all the
What's your
stuff that
address,
we
Rick?
do and need to do. And so we kind of, between the two of us, we picked out both of these, just to give you some options. I mean, like the HP one with the webcam, we really don't need the webcam, we didn't pick it for the webcam.
Right.
It just comes with them, there's like 3 different versions of it.
Yeah,
It just came
I
in
mean, it was,
one way.
if we got one with the webcam, then we'd have a backup if that one dies.
I think the Brothers also got a better
920.
paper capacity.
They both will run,
Yeah,
50 sheets, I believe, well, so,
yeah, I don't know, I didn't read that as well,
where did I see that?
covered up.
The HP one has a 150 sheet out bin for holding finished jobs, a 250 sheet paper tray, and it can do up to 50 sheets for
Unknown man.
scanning and copying at once
Unknown man.
when you put it in the top.
It's
The
at the
Brother is,
clinic.
What?
It's at the clinic.
Oh, it's at the clinic. Gotcha.
the Brother's the same as far as the sheets and the document feed. I believe it was, I'm missing a page on that one. I believe they were, they were pretty close as far as what they did.
Yeah.
I think their Brother was like maybe 10 sheets more.
Okay.
I can tell you from one of my previous careers selling computers and printers, the Brother cartridges, the.
Yeah, I mean, if I was gonna buy it, I'd buy this.
Yeah, so the Brother
Yeah.
Well,
actually,
you did like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that one actually,
Yeah.
so the Brother was the one that came out at the $70. If you took the whole amount for the printer and like toner cartridges for like twice a year, because how long they last.
Right.
It came out to $70 a month, if you broke it down by.
Yeah, but that's only for 1 year, right? I mean,
Right.
after that,
It's
it's
just the
paid
toner.
for and it's, I mean,
Well, it would be paid for anyways, but, so what I did, just to kind of give you a comparison on the monthly cost on average, is took the whole cost of the printer, plus the cost of the toner, and just broke it out by what it would, basically what it would cost on a month if we did a monthly thing on it.
right.
So the HP one came out to 75, so there's a $5
Right,
difference between
yeah.
the two.
Yeah.
Essentially, I'm looking at the budget and I'm trying to find more and more ways to try to, lower our costs.
Well, if there's
Could also give us color capabilities.
right,
Because like the front of your board books, we had to source out for that.
Right.
So those cost 80 cents a copy.
yeah.
So I have one other question. What, on average, how many pages a month do you think you print?
Well, most of it's
In
probably
black and
right in
white
front of you
or-
right now. Unless there's like a big project or something going on, most of it's what's in front of you now. The big bulk of it. We can do periodic printing and stuff if I have to print out some sheets so that I can
Right.
scribble on them and stuff and do stuff. We did the wildland exercise, so I printed out a bunch of the IAPs for everybody, but they were all in black and white, so all of our divisions for the satellite images were just blur and nobody could really see what they were actually looking at.
So according to Pacific Office Automation, because they can actually see our machine, and we average about 2,000 copies a month of black and white. So even if we had a colored printer, we would default it to black and white so that the color is only getting used when we need the color.
Mhm.
And yeah, most of that is board meetings, is the black and white,
Unless there's like a
or
big
any other
project.
meetings.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, that probably trainings and stuff like that, I mean, we may have to do printout materials and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and unless there's pictures, which we usually use digital for pictures and things.
Mhm.
But a lot of times it's printing out like the SOG to review or printing out information from the curriculum. It's not a lot. We do a lot of digital now, so.
Hmm?
That's the difference between what
I'm just trying, I'm
find a piece of information.
It also saves a lot of space because we won't have a big
Right,
machine.
it won't be a big machine, yeah, and we don't necessarily need all the bins and collating and all that kind of stuff when we're.
We just
I
don't,
mean, our board packets are pretty nominal. I'm trying to envision you going through 10 reams of paper a month and, or, I mean, 5 reams of paper a month, and
no.
it doesn't seem like.
I recently just ordered paper, and I think the last time I ordered it was maybe 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We just don't have a lot of high volume printing that needs such a big system for that, And we can hand staple our papers. It's really not that big a deal. I
No.
already 3-hole punch it as it is because the machine doesn't do it. If it does, I don't know how to make it do it, so.
It actually does, but
I don't know.
it is a trick to make it do it.
And I don't know that this necessarily needs to be a board action. I think maybe you guys would be more comfortable with it, with it being a board action.
Well, it's ending
But
a contract, so,
It's ending, but it is ending a contract.
so it would need a board.
I don't know that there was a board contract to approve the contract, or board action to approve the contract
It
to
was
begin
before
with.
my time. so.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember, but I
I
don't
can go pull it real quick.
think there was. Anyway, that's beside the point, at this point.
I make a motion that if you guys find it viable to end the contract and it doesn't have any major stipulations, to go ahead and end the contract and buy the printer. Whichever one you guys deem necessary.
Do I hear a second? It's been moved and seconded to review the contract and get out of it if possible, and if so, buy a new printer.
If it's cost
If it's
beneficial. to
cost
If it's viable,
beneficial,
yeah.
yes, yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
No problem. Chief's report.
All right. So, McKinsey Group, you guys got to meet with them, and you have a proposal, but it sounds like we're probably just gonna keep that on hold. I did talk to Kathy, she said there's no issue with pushing it out till we know for sure if we need to use it, so. She also sent us, from David, the answer to your question, which should be in your board books, about the Richter scale and what would the engineering do. After I read through that, I didn't really see any specific
I didn't
number.
either.
So, I'm not really sure how to interpret that. So I don't know, have you read it yet?
No.
Okay. Well, it's in your board book if you get a
Okay.
chance to read it.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think. So next week, civil service will meet, and the first meeting will be to, so we'll need to swear them in, so if you're available, that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
And then they're gonna go through the rules, they've already got copies of the rules, so they're gonna go through the rules, and then.
Oh, wait a minute. When would that be?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
5:30.
Okay, yeah, I can do it.
Okay. They're gonna go through the rules and hopefully come out of that meeting with at least a draft ready to be approved of the rules. Grant funding, so Ryan LLC approached us. They said that, and I included, or Wendy included the letter from Ryan in your board books for this also. They just didn't feel that they were providing a benefit to us. We also didn't feel that they were providing a benefit to us, so it was a mutual agreement to just part ways. They sent us a letter, a mutual agreement to part ways letter. We signed it, and we are now taking back over contact with FEMA for BRIC and National Relief and et cetera. So we're working on that. Of course, the Oregon Seismic is tied to McKinsey, so we're gonna have to wait on that. And then SAFER and EFG are now posting online, so hopefully within the next few weeks we'll know, which is obviously gonna provide, if we get awarded these, they're gonna provide some major opportunities and options for us, given our current state of things.
I guess I don't have to tell you that as soon as you find out, let us know.
You'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah. OSFM engine program, we applied for a tender, a tender through the program. The only thing I know right now is that they intend to order 35 of them. So if we happen to be one of the 35 that get the award, then we'll get a new tender from the fire marshal's office with the expectation that it can be used for our operations whenever we need to, as long as we're willing to make an effort to deploy it on conflagration acts as needed. So win-win. FEP surplus, they got a new FEP manager, so I've renewed the agreement with the district for ODF, and they asked us for what we wanted on our wish list, and so I put a type 3 heavy brush engine on there on our wish list. So right now they don't have anything available except for one that's got a blown engine, and I was like, I don't need to adopt another problem. I have plenty
Yeah.
as it
I
is.
don't-
They got a brand new one laying around, that'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
right.
Come on, Eric, get on
Boat 72, we're still planning to place it down at the port on a lift. I talked with, or I emailed with Roxy this week about them using our slip in the meantime so that they could put boats in there. I said, that's fine, we're not utilizing it until you can get power down there anyway. So no sense in it sitting empty. So she's gonna rent it out, and then we're still on track for, once they're kind of in the same boat as we are, we're not gonna buy the lift till our taxes come in. They're not gonna pay for the electrical to go down there till the taxes
Until
come
the
in.
taxes come in, yeah.
So we're not gonna see anything till later this year when taxes start coming in. And then the OSFM staffing grant, of course, everybody saw Shanna and Connor who are here today. It's been great. They've done a good job of overhauling the brush rigs and getting them up to speed for rapid response. They went out the other day for the smoke plume that was in the middle of Thousand Line that Toledo ended up finding. They actually approached it from our end off of Drift Creek Wilderness Road to try to see if we could locate it also. And so essentially the purpose of why they're here is working. They're responding to wildland fires so that the engine can stay here and respond on other calls.
Yeah,
So
very good.
So it's working. The only action items that are still in play is the Five Rivers water supply, which is in this year's budget, so it won't happen until taxes come in. The jet dock, which is what we just talked about, and the engine continuity list, which is also in the budget and won't come out until taxes. So not really anything on my action items list unless you guys have new action items for me. Other than all the other stuff we're working on with the building
Right.
and levies, and et cetera, et cetera. So, any questions for me?
Just South Circuit, you did a, which I thought was great up in L.C. Hollow the other day.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, it didn't leave it long enough that a lot of people saw the material, because you left it from, you give them the time limit, they didn't see it. Some of the people don't live there year round,
Yeah,
so they didn't see it on the doors, that you were
Right.
gonna do it. And then, but it's an interesting thing because we're gonna discuss it at the board meeting. And I think it was about 7 years ago, maybe Zach can tell you, remember we had the grant for the guy that worked upriver, working about the brush around people's houses? Remember? And we did that, we got a grant for that, sent a guy up there for the whole summer, and that's all he did. But that's a tough area to go to because we're loggers, you know.
yeah. We put out the flyers to let everybody know that we were gonna be up there, and that if they didn't want their property to be evaluated, to give us a call. We didn't intend to leave the survey forms up
And
there.
you didn't.
Yeah, we didn't want to. We put them out there on posts for our training purposes, and then that night we went around and collected them back up.
The only thing I'm saying is, okay, let's say that I have a couple of vacant lots up there. I didn't know what, I knew it was helpful, but I never saw
Yeah.
what you said about that particular piece of property.
We wouldn't have said anything on a vacant lot. We were only doing ones with structures.
Okay, so you only did with the houses.
Yeah. It was structural protection for defensible space.
Well, I thought it was a great thing. I thought it was a great learning thing for them because you pointed out some issues where there's too many trees. You were having a big hurrah about that, about cutting trees down. Shouldn't cut trees anymore, and you pointed that out, that they were extreme.
Yeah, a lot of people have trees that not only are really close to their structures, but also overhang over the top of their structures.
And I'll finish up with one other subject that we had at the last meeting. We talked about LC, KOA, and LC Highlands being in the city. The only fire tax we collect is LC Highlands.
The only one we currently collect is Alcee Highlands?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we collect,
yeah.
rental taxes was a big push on LC, and I just couldn't come into that when we were the other night. You kept saying, well, they're in the city. Well, I knew they were in the city, but we do
Right.
not collect fire
We don't
taxes.
know, yeah, we don't
As a
collect that.
district,
Yeah.
if they stayed with the fire. That would take a county commissioners meeting plus a vote of the people.
Oh, really? Pull them in?
Yeah,
Move fire district borders.
Elsie Highlands was part of the,
The city,
City,
and they did that because.
when it
of
was the city fire department.
You remember because of the small lots, they want
Right,
to do
yeah.
small lots
Yeah,
But
in the
if the
county.
city, if they're in the city limit, that's,
yeah, but if they're in the city limits, it used to be because the fire district was originally a department of the city.
no, yeah,
You
but
know.
I'm going back to what had happened over in your old neighborhood, over in the valley, which is the city, what was the city's name that came in and proposed?
Albany?
Albany. So Albany came in, proposed that they would put a brand new fire station in Manette if that city gave them exclusive rights within city limits.
But wouldn't they have to be collecting those taxes beforehand, since they're not collecting the taxes currently for fire protection, or they don't have a fire station? They can't just be like,
Whatever the
"Oh,
process is,
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
getting any fire dollars.
Right, yeah, no, we are getting it from
From those
Elsie
two.
Highlands, but not from
And
Elsie
what
Resort
throws
or
it off
KOA.
is
Right.
Because they sure have Gulfport addresses,
Right, yeah,
and everybody thinks they're part of us.
right.
So if the city moved its lines and we had an exclusive,
If we have an exclusivity with the city and they move the city limit lines, all of that property comes into this fire district.
I would think that would
That's
only,
exactly
But
what
that,
happened.
yeah, but that would be an action that the city would have to take.
but even then, would
And
that only
that's-
be if the city
And that's
collected the
that's
taxes?
what we were talking about, was us
Then they would contract
going
with
to
us,
the
right?
city, having a conversation with the city, having them vote on giving this fire district
Yeah, I think it's
exclusive.
a little bit larger.
Right.
Fire
To the city.
district
I
bound.
think that would only, I think
Yeah.
that would only work probably because Millersburg probably was they literally were paid taxes for fire at that point, and then they paid those dollars to Jefferson, would be my guess how that worked. The city doesn't collect fire dollars at this point. So
Yeah.
that wouldn't, I don't think that would apply, because then you're just changing contracts basically with certain people. Just kind of like Newport, City of Newport contracts with the Newport Rural Fire District.
Vice versa,
So since Newport Rural, yeah,
contracts with the city.
since they're the ones that collect the dollars, since the city doesn't collect the dollars, I wouldn't assume.
No.
Yeah,
But what's the difference? The city that Albany now has has that.
Because Millersburg was collecting the money. The city's not collecting the money. So they're just turning the
Let
money
me
over.
finish.
Yeah.
The city that they went to and said, the way, as I understood it, as it was told to me, was they went into this particular town, said, we'll give you a station if you give us exclusivity. That town was just like Walport, where they had no fire, they were within a fire district, but they had no fire department.
Oh, okay.
So this Albany Fire Department came in and said, if you give us exclusivity, we will take care of we will build you the station and man it.
Gotcha.
The fire district that that town was in lost all of that revenue because that city decided to give the fire protection to Albany.
So then would they have to
So-
collect the funds then?
No. What it does is it just, the city, just like we have, and again, legal beagles and smarter people than me can go check this out, but it's the same reason why the county doesn't have jurisdiction over the city as far as whether or not we want to have, I'll use the other favorite thing around here, short-term rentals.
Yeah.
We can do our own thing. So if the city says, hey, we want this fire district to be our exclusive fire protection, then anything within the city limits is now under this fire protection. And the other districts don't have anything to say about that because it's within city limits. That's how I understand it, as the way it was explained to me
Yeah.
in another jurisdiction within the state of Oregon, so,
That might make sense, yeah. Just the same as.
so yes, KOA and would all come into the fire district because they are already annexed into
Well,
the
it
city.
wouldn't have anything to do with the city.
Yes, it would. The city has to give us exclusive.
But we're not a city fire department.
It doesn't matter.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
I think we'd have to be the city's fire department.
So how about
Albany
if,
isn't the fire department of this
I
county.
think this is more of a workshop topic.
well, I think some more research needs to go
Yeah,
into this
I think
But the
before
county commissioners
we,
who
you know,
moved this line,
I just
moved it for the ambulance
texted
even.
someone
I had
who
to go to
lives
the
over
county
there who went
commissioners to
through
get
it,
moved from
the
Owner
question,
Curves
but
to 123rd.
they may not get back to me tonight, so.
Was Millersburg a
That was
city
the county
department?
commissioners.
No, as part of Jefferson Rural Fire Protection.
I think it needs to be researched a little bit more, but
Yeah,
I
I
think the
think- I
city,
think, you know,
I
at
think the
this point-
city has more to say about that than, because the city is within this fire district. And if the city chooses, because there's bits and pieces of the city outside of this fire district, if the city chooses that they want to consolidate that,
Well, I'm welcome
Then
to
why-
let you believe that.
hmm?
I'm welcome to let you believe that.
I think we just need to do more research before we can land on this
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
I sent a question to somebody who actually physically went through this, who actually lives in Millersburg, and is with one of those fire agencies, for clarification. And so, well, I also know that they're camping, so they may not answer tonight, so.
Yeah.
But I think I'll continue to gain some more information. Maybe we revisit this next meeting after I can get some further clarification on this.
Yeah.
So, something a little bit more factual on
Right,
paper.
yeah.
So,
Don't want a lot of wild speculation at this point.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else for the chief's report?
Not unless there's questions. Anybody got questions from me?
And I really don't have anything for the president's report. Do we have any questions from the viewing audience?
Just checked, and we had nothing
Okay.
on any of the groups or anything.
All right, well, then, we need to adjourn into an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660.2D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations.
Hey, Wendy, can I pull that file from the documents that I put in there from the last, yeah.
And any actions that will result from the executive session will be taken in open session immediately following the executive session. Let's resume the open session. There were no actions to be taken from the executive session. And now we want to discuss the notice of the measure. So we have two proposals in front of us for ballot measure language for our option tax. And one of them is, our current option tax is 25 cents per thousand. So it's up to us to decide, you know, do we want to renew at 25 cents per thousand, which is the rate that was established 10 years ago?
10 years, it was a serial levy for 10
The
years.
serial levy for 10 years. We are shortening it to 5 years. So we want to consider raising it to either 30 cents per thousand or 35 cents per thousand.
Well, you know where I stand, right? I mean, I vehemently argued against it in the open session. I get it. I understand it. I will go along with it, but I will just preface it by saying my biggest against it is this shouldn't be a regular thing. As we just pointed out, CPI is not always even 3%, and property taxes go up 3%, and we're getting a 3% increase every year from our taxpayers. So I think I think it is a necessity, looking at the budget, maybe to increase this. But I would just fair warn future times that this shouldn't be an everything time where we're always increasing this 10 or 5 or whatever cents every time, as taxes
Right.
are already going up,
Yeah.
and sometimes quicker than inflation. So.
Yeah.
I look at this, I agree with everything you're saying. I look at this twofold though. It's not just the budget now. I look at it as trying to catch back up with 10 years of changes, and also preparing ourselves as we go into the next step of our contract with employees as well. So it's not just about we're raising it because we just haven't raised it for a long time. We're raising it because there's been changes over the last 10 years that affect these monies. And as we start to look to the future, we want to make sure that as we carry on through the next 5 years, we're not hurting at the end of that, where we do have to go out and raise it again. If you're correct with the CPI, it may get to the end of that 5 years, and we say, we're good, we'll just keep it the same. Just
Yeah.
like we've done before in the past.
And also, over the last 5 years, a lot has changed. We've increased the service we provided our taxpayers substantially. I mean, if you look at the last time, we went from, 3 or 4 full-time employees, and now we're at 6, right?
Yeah, we staff
When I first
24/7 with 2 personnel guaranteed every day minimum staffing.
Yeah, we're at 2 people guaranteed every day, whereas before, we were at 1 person?
We were at 1 person, and so you got 2 people every day plus the chief plus volunteers. Now you've got, and before you were at 1 person with sometimes a volunteer person along with them, and then the chief.
Yep.
So it was inconsistent. You didn't always have the same staffing level. Sometimes you didn't even have that 1 person because the schedule it wasn't available, and so it was all just volunteer only. Now you've got this minimum level that you can't go below. I've got measures that are available to me as a manager that if we start to go below that, I can pull mandatory shifts and things. Ask Zaki. He's doing it all the time with the sheriff's office right now. So
Exactly, so the expenses of fires has increased greater than 3%, at least that I've seen over the last 5 years, which would be another, I guess, argument for increasing it, the
And these-
minuscule 5 or 10 cents per thousand, right? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, so I'm good with either way, but, I just throwing out my 2 cents there.
It's also lowered our ISO rating also.
Right.
And I think another selling point, based on what you were saying, is as far as, the service provided to the taxpayer has grown exponentially better. They have also benefited by the fact that through a lot of hard work and training and stuff, the fire department has gotten better ratings, which means that their fire insurance has gone down.
Yeah.
If they're paying attention to that when they're doing their re-ups. So, because we are now 4, right?
4 across the entire district.
Right, so So that's, these are talking points that should, it's like, yes, we're asking you for money, but at the same time, this is what we've been providing, and these are the cost savings that you've been able to garner, real time out of that.
Yep, yep.
And what I don't think we want to be is, at least from what I hear, is where our district to the south is going to be at, where they're asking for $1 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I think 10 cents is, is where we should land, and then, and it's good for 5 years, and maybe 5 years from now, maybe we can still make that same levy work, or maybe it's only a nickel the next time. But we're trying to, like you said, catch up, and so I'm all right with the 10-cent increase.
And Kevin, I want to reiterate what you're saying. I don't think there should be a regular thing where we're constantly going back every 5 years and asking for more and more money. What I'd like to see achieved with this is a plan for the future, continue the stability that we currently have. Costs are only going to go up. I can't predict what fuel and wages are going to cost 2-3 years from now, but I can guarantee you they're going to be more expensive in the future than they are right now. And I think the appropriate response would be to go for the 10 cents and continue to grow. Costs are only going to go up, and we want to continue to provide a level of service that this community has grown to expect, and also the level of service that they deserve.
Anybody got a motion? Did anybody got a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we move forward and give Chief the authority to put the paperwork in for the levy increase to 35 cents.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize the chief to put in a motion, to put in a ballot measure request for 35 cents per thousand for 5 years. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so, getting back to my agenda here. Under the good of the order, I did have a request for the board to consider. I'm going to be gone the second, or was it the third, fourth weeks in September. And I was wondering if the board would consider moving the September meeting up to the 9th, which would be 3 weeks from today.
Is that our workshop?
It could be, except that we did a pretty good workshop, plus we've got the one that's happening on the 31st.
Could you
already.
stay longer?
Huh?
Could you be gone longer?
Could I be gone longer? Well, gee, Ray, I don't know. Would it make you happy if I was?
It'd be the
I don't
8th.
have to run the meeting, I'm all for it.
I was going to say,
Bring that bad boy
that
up
is,
a week.
well,
The
you
9th or
know.
the 8th?
It'd be the 8th,
It'd be
and
okay,
that would work out better for me, so I don't have to take time off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're talking about staying on Thursday, it's the 8th.
Yeah.
Friday would be the 9th.
Okay, so Thursday. And I think, one other thing that we might want to consider, well, after talking about this, is, especially moving on towards the future, do we want to consider possibly changing the meeting night in general to a different meeting night? Especially if we're trying to work with Seal Rock, they have their meetings the same night, the same day, the same time, and so on, which kind of makes it difficult for the two boards to, come together as well. That's something just kind of think about, over the next month or so. I really just want to move this meeting so that I can be at the meeting and so on, if you guys are agreeable to it. But,
I'm good with I'm good with the second Thursday. Yeah.
okay,
So it'd be the ninth?
8th,
Yep.
yeah.
I didn't say one way or the other. I'm good with the 8th. I don't care.
Okay, well, I think we can probably get by with just a consensus on that one. We don't need a motion necessarily, I think, to,
No, we just have to do our notifications.
our notifications and so on, yeah, so,
Are you good with the 8th, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay.
cool.
Good enough.
All right. And the other one that I had thought about, and I'm just bringing this up for thinking about, we've talked a lot about the long-range planning for the potential earthquake, the tsunami and so on, and what to do with the buildings and the equipment, and, we want to make sure the equipment's out of the tsunami zone and all that sort of thing, when the reality is that even if we do have all of our fire trucks and so on up out of the tsunami zone, if we have a tsunami and an earthquake, chances are we aren't going to be able to move that equipment anyway. We aren't going to have roads to run on, And so one of the things I was thinking about was, do we want to think about looking at getting one or two ATV-type vehicles that could respond in conditions that are less than salubrious for the big trucks. You
I've
know.
always said we need to buy a bulldozer, an excavator, or
Helicopter.
some ATVs. I've always
Yeah.
said that. Said that for 5 years and nobody went along with me.
Well,
And finally got somebody to
And it would
Yes.
double, so every year we go out and do fireworks right out on the spit. So if they were a side-by-side, you'd be able to use that to move and shuttle
So-
stuff out onto the sand. And beach responses as well for EMS and fire purposes.
Just
Or any
for-
other, going off in the Tules somewhere where you've got a report of a fire and you can't get a big engine. If we had, what do they call them, razors or
Side by side.
a
Yeah.
side-by-side or
It's a little
whatever,
too fast, it's like John Deere.
Okay. But anyway, so that was something I was thinking about. It isn't anything I necessarily want, any action on right now, but just to be thinking about, especially with pre-disaster mitigation funds
Yeah, I do
or
too.
emergency preparedness funds, if we want to look at doing something like that. And having something that we could actually use available to us.
Is that something that we
Is
get?
there any grant money?
Yeah, is there grant money for that?
Can we just maybe give
grant money
Jamie
for
some
it,
direction
yeah.
to look into the possibility and
Grant
what
money
would be
for
available?
workman's comp, too.
And what the cost would be?
We can put a governor on it.
Yeah, I can see it now. Where's the ATV? Oh, Eric's out there chucking stuff
I was
out.
interested in what started your conversation. You said, what if the engines were all up on the hill?
Yeah.
What led you to that
Well, because that's been the strong sentiment from some of our board members in the past is move everything, move.
Well, and I think,
point? When we had the false alarm,
Mhm.
in 7 minutes, we had everything at the school.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I mean, we literally did, in
Mhm.
7 minutes, we had everything at the school.
But there was no earthquake
And
here.
no, it didn't happen. And sheriff's office was stopped traffic, it just kept going across the bridge. And
was that the distance?
so this
Yeah.
guy got up on the stage at the high school and he says, well, everything's been called off. And so everybody left. Well, it had been called off.
Yeah.
And he wasn't from FEMA either, remember?
I don't remember because I didn't actually participate.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess what I'm saying is regardless of where our equipment is, we want our personnel, of course, to be out of danger. And, even down here, they can run up the hill, whatever, But once they get up there, if we don't have anything to be able to work with, we're kind of,
Well, I think it's gonna be like going camping. I mean, I've been to so many meetings, that's what it's gonna be like going camping. You're gonna have ham operators and Yeah, hot space is a big problem in their long district, just getting water to people.
Right.
Are the tanks gonna hold?
Yeah.
Are the support
Yeah.
gonna hold? I mean, it's
This
gonna
is
be
all
a-
ancient
it's gonna be a
sand.
whole new
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
You know, and that's.
It will be, but I'm just wondering if we can be a little better prepared.
It's beyond
I
our.
would agree, and it would have multiple uses.
You know, and, yeah, plus it would have, they wouldn't just be sitting in mothballs waiting for the tsunami to come. It's something that we could be using, for the fireworks or for,
I mean, how many times do you guys go out in the summer on the sand, or even the winter time to pick someone up off the sand, or you gotta shuffle gear back and forth?
It's pretty awful.
Yeah.
or you have to go up in the pucker bush somewhere up in,
Getting people off the beach is probably gonna be the most
Yeah.
common thing we would
Yeah.
use it for. And then beach fires, small brush fires that are way up in the middle of nowhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll get used.
I mean, how are we gonna create heroes jumping into the ocean after swimming, if we have one of those? I mean, I just
So
don't know
anyways,
how
I
we're
guess-
gonna
Gotta
create
come with
this.
life vests and fins.
if we can just have Jamie maybe look into it a bit and put together some
You know,
numbers for us
We
to,
don't know who those
look
people
at.
are. We don't know who they're going to be.
who, what?
We don't know who those heroes are going to be.
We already know
Oh.
one, he's in our presence.
We're gonna
Ray?
build a water rescue rig that says keeping the sheriffs out of the water one step at a time.
I mean,
Okay,
I should have
You know,
never bought
because-
that.
and to go back, I went and looked at that response to the question from McKenzie Group, and basically, it kind of falls in line with, so, to kind of go back, when I worked for Boeing, and we had the 94 earthquake, and they came in and they did all the repair on that building, and we were told, we were given briefings all the time on these buildings, which were originally built for the nuclear industry. And they basically put $80 million back into the buildings, and they said, look, at the end of the day, these buildings survived a 6.7, and what we've done is made them survivable to about a 7.9. Was about the best number they could give us. So if I take that into consideration, it's like, no matter what they do to this building seismically, if we're talking, everybody always talks about it being a 9.0, we got bigger problems to worry about than,
Right.
It just depends on how the earth shakes too. I mean, that's why they can't give you that numbers, right? I mean, there's how many different kinds of earthquakes that can happen from a single fault, right? I mean, it could be a lateral or a horizontal or whatever they call it, right? So that's why they can't give you a number, because it really just depends on how it shakes, right? I mean,
it's, yeah, you have slip and you have thrust. So, and in the Northridge earthquake, what they didn't tell everybody, like everybody that, say, lives up here, they were looking at the news back then, what they saw was the Northridge earthquake, which happened, they point to a little dot in the middle of the San Fernando Valley, and they said it was a 6.7. What they don't tell you is, literally a mile and a half from my house, I lived in the east end of Simi Valley, which was 7 miles from that epicenter. There was an adjacent thrust fault on the Santa Susana fault line. That thrust fault broke loose literally at the same time because it was activated by that, and it was a 6.7. So I've got this earthquake, and my house was right there.
And if they amplify
So
on each other, then you're
we
screwed,
went up and
right?
down,
Yeah.
we went sideways. The waterbed in the master bedroom moved 2.5 feet across a carpeted floor. Okay.
It's also nice.
That's a
water
lot,
bed. I'm really
you know?
glad that you
So-
put that into the public.
No, but I'm just saying, what I'm saying is.
I expect that to be in the,
No,
the article, all right?
no. I guess what I'm getting at is that, so at the seismic thing, it's all about, it's relative to what,
Right.
we're gonna get what we get out of
Why
it.
don't you look at the complete opposite spectrum of that though, right? There's no guarantee that we'll have an earthquake. We may go another 300 years before there's.
Exactly.
Right.
You're gonna build 6 fire stations over that 300 years roughly. So, I mean.
Yeah, right,
Yeah, we're preparing for the worst, hoping that the worst never happens.
right.
And it may not. Or it may happen tomorrow.
So does anybody else have anything for the good of the order?
Well,
I would not.
He's trying to figure out what a water bed is, you know? Well, he has long hours in his car out there at night.
Somebody with gray
That's
hair.
totally
knows
70s.
Talking to his dog.
Yeah, that's a 1970s thing, right?
Some I probably shouldn't search on the agency computer.
No, you can get, they call it
Okay,
quotation.
I would say the meeting is adjourned.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
All right.
Thank you
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
I know, I was just gonna say.
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
that's what.
Oh,
So he's gonna.
and Wendy can, I think
Yeah,
Wendy
he
can
knows
take all
every
these.
perverted act.